This week wraps up the second act of Star Trek Picard. Titled Surrender, the 8th episode is rather brutal in its approach to the execution of Starfleet officers. However, moments of character development shine throughout it. We also reconnected with Deanna Troi and William T. Riker as they're held prisoner on Vadic's warship, the Shrike. This episode does well reconnecting characters like Worf, Riker and Deanna. Spoiler warning though, this is our full in-depth review of Star Trek Picard Season 3 Episode 8. As such, you have been warned, turn away now if you do not want spoilers. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack. Right, get commenting while you're watching this review. I want to know your best moment from this episode, on the flip side, your worst moment. Go comment, no seriously go. While you're on your way to the comment section, hit that subscribe button on your way there. And if you feel like it, the like button as well. Don't forget this weekend on Sunday at 9 PM BST, we'll be live on YouTube talking about Picard Season 3 with some guests. Make sure to tune in. Okay, with that out of the way, engage. The episode starts most brutally, with Vadic just ordering the slaughter of Titan crew members in the corridors by changing death squads. She plays the sounds across the ship, terrorizing the rest of the crew. Those who got transferred to the Intrepid in episode 5 may be the luckier ones. Then again, that ship seemed fully controlled by changelings, so maybe they also met some weird death or turned into changelings. Who knows really. An interesting scene is Shaw asking why Seven didn't blow the turbolift. Weird aspect of this scene is that he's still calling her Hanson. I had thought this would have been resolved after episode 4, with Seven telling Shaw that she is called Seven out of respect by Sydney, and saving the day from a changeling imposter. I sure hope we can get a scene where Shaw starts calling Seven out of respect for what she does in this episode, but already she at least has our respect as she always has done. Shaw chastises Seven talking about consequences that haven't happened yet, which is an interesting phrasing when Shaw has heard his crew members being gunned down in the hallways over the comms. Consequences have already happened. Obviously though, this is referring to members of the bridge crew being threatened and killed. Ensign Tavine is killed by Vadic, and I think this death I am not fond of. Tavine was a cool character, but not given much for this reason. The actor, Stefan Chikowski, has talked about playing Ensign Tavine and her being quarter Vulcan and a quarter Deltan, or 3/4 Vulcan and 1/4 Deltan, excuse me. It's really cool. The shots of this scene, showing the lined up crew, almost intentionally leave out Tavine. She was even then killed, not realising it, which I guess is a good way to go, but still a shame. Jack finally confides in his parents about his powers. How the changelings know about this though, who knows. Vadic, late in the episode, even talks about the Red Door, and has such knowledge about what is happening to Jack. Still, we don't get any of those answers in this episode, unfortunately. It's a case of wanting to drag the storyline out it seems, which, while it makes sense, does become rather frustrating. Just get to the point. We'll almost get there this week with Deanna helping out Jack, then it cuts off in typical cliffhanger style. Jack does use these new powers to control Mura, and it almost is successful, but is caught by Vadic at the last moment. Vadic even knows it is Jack controlling Mura, which again, we need answers for this soon, and hopefully the cliffhanger of this episode provides it. Well, we know we now need to wait a whole week to get there, which is a bit disappointing. On the Shrike, however, we have the Troi Rikers. The Riker and Deanna scenes in this episode are great, and the dynamic between the two is played so well. We even get a little reference to their daughter Kestra, and it seems like she's doing okay. The best part of these scenes between Troi and Riker is the use of Season 1 to show the drama between the two. Troi is still somewhat angry with Riker, but he just went as soon as Picard called for Starfleet help in Season 1, appearing across the galaxy with a fleet in tow. I always did find it weird how quickly Riker got reinstated and came to aid, especially after the events of Nepenthe in Season 1, and this season shows how it worked and the consequences of that. But it might have been an error in judgment from Riker to just get up and leave to help deal with his pain, but it was also some fault of Troi. She was trying to numb Riker's pain and help him carry it, but she even says she was trying to skip to the end of healing with Riker and not just help him get over his grief. It must be painful being empathic and having to deal with not only your grief of losing your son, but your partners as well. They were Stock and Nepenthe in their grief and had the wind to go through that door to find what's next. See what we did there? Doors and corners. If you get that reference, I tip my hat I don't have to you. They are however rescued, and we do see a brief cloaked shuttle, which helps solve something in the last episode. Clearly Raffi and Worf took a shuttle and a bounty cloaking device, which is why the Titan didn't cloak last episode and was just hiding out in scrapyards. I strongly dislike they just abandoned the last Serena since we've been with that ship since the very beginning of Picard, but it makes sense they used the shuttle. They could have just used La Sirena though. It is also nice that Worf is very open, and we know that he previously had a relationship with her, aka Deanna Troi, so I'm glad he's being open to Troi about how it is improved himself. I also like that Riker got all jealous about this, and it sort of builds on all good things. The group on the Shrike find Picard's old body. It seems whoever was doing this removed his parietal lobe, which had Irumodic syndrome. I still think this is a Borg related, but we shall see why it is different in Jack than it was in Picard, and what's so special about it. There was also a nice scene of Raffi just straight up defeating changelings in armed combat, obviously showing her training of Worf has paid off. It is also nice that despite single-handedly defeating numerous changelings, something which was impressive for Jack in an earlier episode, Worf still finds room for improvement, aka you're throwing from your left shoulder. An element of this episode I did like is Sydney LaForge talking about how long it would be for her to write a code to regain control of the ship. She talks about how not only a computational AI matrix of over 19 million operations a second could do it in minutes. This was such a heavy-handed way to mention they have an android just like that on her side, and again, it's something we call signposting. I mean, it was signposting the next step not only to Picard, but also to us as the audience. Almost treating us like we're less aware than we actually are in storytelling, which is somewhat a bit insulting in a way. We know where this is going to go, audiences can put dots together, so... The group head to where Geordi, Alondra, and Android M510 are located. A nice thing is they have to verify their character first and make sure they aren't just changelings, and Picard criticises Geordi's wine preferences as pedestrian.
A Chateau Picard Bordeaux, which you said was too dry because your taste in wine is pedestrian at best.
Definitely Picard.
Because I think Picard has had enough this season people saying they hate his wine. The scene of Lore talking to Data is great. Data seems to be surrendering, giving all his memories to Lore. He says this not because of surrender, but because Lore has nothing while he had everything. However, Data actually plays Lore so well, and it works really well. While they are separated by the petition and what keeps themselves, Lore mentions that he has only keeps symbols of conquest. Therefore, he deduced that all of the memories he was handing over to Lore were not being erased, but stored as a symbol of Lore's conquest over Data. However, this would allow Data to take control over Lore, and not the other way around. This is smart, and something that makes sense for Data to do. Lore has become Data, and they have merged to become one android body. However, I do find it making that Data raises my issues of bringing Data back. At least he has changed. I mean, we've already tasted death, but how will he taste life? He does his usual Data neck tilt and somewhat snaps his neck, which is pretty interesting. Data can also now use contractions and humour, which hopefully yields some results for the last two episodes. They do address the form of Data in Season 1 and him wanting to die. Even if now we have the new Data, I know that me is resting peacefully. I do like that, and it does make it work for me in the end, especially when we consider Season 1's ending. Ultimately, it does work in the end. So Jack does go to the bridge with a Titan to buy enough time for Data to take over Lore and retake the ship, using what's essentially a thermal detonator from Star Wars. A lot of references here. He does manage to get the bridge crew to safety, but Seven stays on the bridge with Jack, which I hope gets her respected by Shaw now. Though with Seven there, Vadic says it's only fitting for her to witness it. The only thing I can think of is this further gives evidence to Jack's condition being Borg related. This might have been a perfect opportunity to actually give answers. Even Jack is upset with Vadic going around in batshit circles. How does Vadic know what the red door is though? Anyway, Data does regain control of a Titan and opens a view screen of a bridge. The thermal detonator in Jack's hand was actually just a portable force field, and Vadic and the other changes get vented into space. Vadic's last words are fucking solids, as she freezes in space and shatters on the hull of the Shrike, her own warship. Shaw lets Seven give the order to destroy the Shrike, and again, I have to say, when someone says, give it everything we've got, fire, and it just fires one single salvo torpedoes, it's a little bit disappointing. It's also very interesting, they also blew up Picard's body, along with the Shrike, but also I don't think Shaw 7 really cared about that, and neither did the writers. Troi senses a great darkness, and we learn it isn't Vadic or Jack, but something that surrounds Jack. It's like the dark side of the Force. Wait, wrong franchise. Something ancient and evil, which obviously would give all those power wave theorists happy, but please, this isn't the power waves. That would be so left field, and it just wouldn't make sense. We do get a nice scene of the entire Next Generation crew around the conference table, and definitely at this point, you have to make peace with this being a TNG movie, and not Star Trek Picard. Because no one else is around this table, just old faces reunited, which, you know. It also seems that the Titan has bounty hunting cloaking devices installed again. Bounty hunting, I can say that, yeah. This is nice. And an impossible what I consider to be the worst cliffhanger in Trek, we have Troi and Jack going forth to open the red door in his visions, the talking door as it's referred to by Jack. It's time to open the door and fade to black. Yeah, we're not opening it, it's a cliffhanger everyone, you know, roll transition, there's a cliffhanger. Okay, so this was episode 8 of season 3 of Star Trek Picard to Our Surrender. It's written by Mac Okunama, who probably is the reason for Matthew Arliss Mura, now thinking about it. It's also directed by Discovery season 4 director Deborah Kampmeyer. I do feel like a lot of the writing was very clearly signposted in a way that didn't feel natural. Sure, talking of the consequences refers to Veen being killed, and not the consequences of the crew being gunned down in the streets or corridors. Sydney saying the exact solution which tells them that Data will save the day, it felt quite sloppy and intentionally written. A lot of Picard season 3 has been like this, signposting all throughout. Though that might be a flaw in the writing for that aspect, the writing does shine majestically in the character dynamics of this episode. Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis did a fantastic job with the dynamic, really bouncing off one another. Michael Dorn continues to give such a fascinating new take with his new Worf. Brent Spiner playing the charismatic Lore and Data, and then enabling this new Data with new mannerisms to represent a new form of life is amazing. Overall, this was an enjoyable episode, but how the story progressed, we've not been really fans of it. With the character of Vadic, I think we might have to do a full video and article on here, but so far I felt like this was another Trek villain touted as perhaps one of the best in the franchise, but fell so short of greatness. She had some amazing scenes and some great characterization. Amanda Plummer has done a fantastic job with what she was given, however I think she needed more. We only got her backstory last week, however brutal it was, we still don't know much about her character. We know her drives and her motivations, sure, but I feel like she needed to verbalize them more for us to actually get as viewers. If the changelings on the Shrike actually communicated with her and didn't just chirp like birds, or she had someone to have sort of back and forth with and bounce ideas off, I think this would have been stronger. The big changing brute with a red mask promised me confidence for our villain. The Iago to our Jafar, the Joachim to our Khan. If she had someone like that, she would have been better in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, she has some great monologues, which are fantastically written, but to me, there was no sense that stood out. No fantastic line which we might recall briefly and succinctly at a later date. No cry havoc and let's slip the dogs of war if I spin up a chair while doing that. I can't because it just hits the mic. Okay, don't put that in. Another line being, he tasked me, and I shall have him. I'll chase him around the moons of Neba and around the entire maelstrom, and round put it in flames before I give him up. Yeah, that's Khan's thing, I just butchered that, okay? I'm here, leave me alone.
This is cozy, I'm gonna take this with me.
Another aspect is from pretty early on, we knew she was a subordinate. We knew she was working with someone else, her handler, the big face that comes from her hand. So already from that, we knew she wouldn't pose a big as threat to the series as a true villain of the series. So now with her head dead and the plan still going ahead, will this new true big bad be underdeveloped with only 2 episodes to go, with 8 episodes of build up? Or will the villain have completely stolen the thunder from Vadic? That's my concern. It may prove that with time and rewatches that Vadic may climb the ranks of Star Trek villains, but for the moment she does pale in comparison to our Trek greats, which is a shame. Next up is the actual story progression. This episode gave no answers. The episode ends on a big cliffhanger promising answers, so I hope we get those answers straight out of the gates into episode 9. But we have 2 episodes left and have to wrap this up. The only answer in this episode is that we wanted Picard's body for the parietal lobe and the structural defect it contains. I so hope this is like maybe something Borg related and we don't make up Aromatic Syndrome, this all-powerful superpower or anything. However, if they wanted Picard's body for the parietal lobe and they also want Jack for his powers, I do wonder what this means. As far as we know, Picard never had these abilities, which would be a weird thing to retcon, so I'm leaning towards it being a Borg device, mostly from Picard and his ability to connect people and Vadic saying that Jack wasn't meant for Beverly, maybe another queen. There was some excellent camera work throughout this episode, with the opening shots of Vadic's reflection in the sensor dome atop the bridge. The closest to Troi, Jack, Data and Lore was shot super well. Picard Season 3 has had some amazing directors, and we only have one more left with Terry Matalas himself next episode and episode 10. Is that correct? I thought that was not correct. Okay, no it is. Where will these last episodes take us? With Frontier Day only mere hours away in universe, what actually is the plan for both parties? What is through the red door? How much will we sacrifice to win the day? We're going to have to keep watching, aren't we, to find out? I mean, it's not going to give us the answers now. The next episode is called Vox, by the way, and will be out this time next week. So, what do you think of this episode of Star Trek Picard? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget, we'll be discussing this episode all week on our social channels. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. But for now, I've been Captain Jack. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye. Live long and prosper, my friends. I was too early there, and we'll see you very soon.